Did you know that only 1 in 3 employees trust their leaders? Shocking, right? Trust is the cornerstone of any successful team, yet so many workplaces struggle with it. In Simon Sinek's book, Leaders Eat Last, he dives deep into why trust is crucial and how leaders can build it effectively. Imagine a workplace where employees are 50% more productive, 76% more engaged, and 40% less likely to feel stressed. Sounds like a dream, doesn't it? These aren't just fantasies. These are real results from teams led by trustworthy leaders. But how do you become a leader who inspires this kind of trust? It's not about grand gestures or complicated strategies. It's about simple, consistent actions that show you care. From creating a circle of safety to practicing servant leadership, we'll explore practical steps you can take to build trust in your team. Get ready to uncover the secrets behind why leaders who eat last create the most loyal and high-performing teams. We'll dive into strategies that might surprise you, backed by unique facts and data. So, stick around and let's start building a foundation of trust together. Chapter 1: The Trust Advantage – Why Leaders Eat Last. Building trust is the backbone of successful leadership. Simon Sinek, in his book, Leaders Eat Last, explains how leaders who prioritize their team's well-being create a more loyal and committed workforce. It's not just about making people feel good. It's about driving performance and productivity. Did you know that companies with high trust levels outperform those with low trust levels by 286%? This statistic alone underscores the power of trust in the workplace. When leaders choose to eat last, they demonstrate that they are willing to put their team's needs above their own. This act of selflessness builds a culture where employees feel valued and respected. As Sinek puts it, great leaders are willing to sacrifice their own personal interests for the good of the team. This sacrifice isn't just symbolic. It's a practical strategy that pays off in the long run. Employees are more likely to go the extra mile for leaders they trust. This is because trust reduces fear and stress, allowing employees to focus more on their work. In a study by Harvard Business Review, employees in high-trust organizations reported 74% less stress and 106% more energy at work. These figures highlight how trust can transform workplace dynamics. Trust isn't built overnight. It requires consistent actions and behaviors that show employees their leader genuinely cares. Leaders who are transparent, empathetic, and reliable build stronger bonds with their team. This trust advantage not only improves morale but also enhances overall performance. Chapter 2: Circle of Safety – Creating a Secure Environment. Creating a circle of safety is a fundamental concept in Leaders Eat Last. This idea revolves around making employees feel secure and protected from external threats. When people feel safe, they can focus on their work without constant fear of criticism or failure. This security is essential for fostering innovation and creativity. A secure environment starts with open communication. Leaders must be approachable and encourage their team to voice concerns and ideas. According to Gallup, employees who feel their opinions count are 4.6 times more likely to feel empowered to perform their best work. This statistic highlights the importance of making everyone feel heard. In the circle of safety, mistakes are seen as learning opportunities rather than reasons for punishment. This mindset encourages risk-taking and innovation, as employees know they won't be harshly judged for trying something new. Google, for instance, promotes a culture of psychological safety, which has been linked to higher levels of team innovation and performance. Chapter 3: Empathy in Action – Leading with Compassion. Empathy is a cornerstone of effective leadership. Leaders who show genuine concern for their team's well-being build deeper connections and trust. Empathy involves understanding and sharing the feelings of others, which can significantly improve workplace relationships. In Leaders Eat Last, Sinek emphasizes the importance of empathetic leadership. He argues that leaders who understand their team's struggles and successes can motivate and support them more effectively. Empathy in action means being present and actively listening to your team's concerns. One fascinating fact is that empathy can actually boost productivity. According to a study by the Center for Creative Leadership, empathetic leaders are viewed as better performers by their bosses. This study found that empathy correlates with higher job performance and satisfaction. Empathy also builds trust because it shows employees that their leader truly cares about their well-being. This care fosters a positive work environment where employees feel supported and valued. When leaders lead with compassion, they create a culture where everyone feels part of a larger, caring community. Chapter 4: Vulnerability, the secret to authentic leadership. Vulnerability is often seen as a weakness, but in leadership, it can be a powerful strength. Being open about your own challenges and mistakes humanizes you and makes you more relatable to your team. Brené Brown, a renowned researcher on vulnerability, states, "Vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change." When leaders show vulnerability, they build trust by being authentic. Employees appreciate honesty and transparency, which fosters a culture of openness. A study by PwC found that 83% of employees feel more engaged when their leaders are transparent. This engagement translates into better performance and higher job satisfaction. Vulnerability also encourages a learning culture. When leaders admit they don't have all the answers, it opens the door for collaboration and innovation. It shows that it's okay to ask for help and that everyone is on a continuous journey of learning and growth. Chapter 5: Empowerment through delegation, trusting your team. Empowerment is all about trust. When leaders delegate responsibilities, they show they believe in their team's abilities. This trust boosts confidence and morale. According to the Harvard Business Review, teams that feel empowered by their leaders are 67% more likely to perform well. Delegation isn't just about offloading tasks. It's about giving employees opportunities to grow and develop new skills. Leaders who delegate effectively help their team members build their careers. This investment in personal growth pays off with increased loyalty and job satisfaction. Simon Sinek, in Leaders Eat Last, emphasizes the importance of trusting your team to take on significant tasks. He says, "Leadership is not about being in charge. It is about taking care of those in your charge." By delegating, leaders show they trust their team, which strengthens the overall bond. One interesting fact is that organizations with a high degree of trust enjoy 50% higher employee productivity. This data from a PwC study highlights the direct impact of trust and delegation on performance. When employees feel trusted, they are more motivated to excel. Chapter 6: Transparency Matters, Open Communication Strategies. Transparency is a key component of trust. Leaders who are open and honest with their teams build stronger, more trusting relationships. According to a study by the American Psychological Association, 93% of employees who feel trusted by their leaders are motivated to perform the best work. Open communication means sharing both the good and the bad. It involves being upfront about challenges and setbacks, as well as celebrating successes. Simon Sinek points out that when leaders communicate openly, they create a culture of trust and accountability. He says, "Trust is maintained when values and beliefs are actively managed." One unique fact is that transparency can reduce turnover rates. A LinkedIn survey found that 85% of employees would consider leaving the job if they felt their leaders were not transparent. This statistic underscores the importance of honesty in retaining top talent. Transparency also means listening to your team. Effective communication is a two-way street. Leaders should encourage feedback and be open to hearing different perspectives. This openness fosters a more inclusive and innovative work environment. Chapter 7: Recognition and Gratitude, Fueling Team Morale. Recognition and gratitude are powerful tools for building trust and morale. When leaders acknowledge their team's efforts and achievements, they show that they value their contributions. This recognition boosts motivation and encourages continued high performance. Simon Sinek highlights the importance of recognizing and appreciating your team. He says, "The leaders who get the most out of their people are the leaders who care most about their people." This caring attitude fosters a positive and supportive work environment. According to Gallup, Employees who receive regular recognition are 4.6 times more likely to be engaged at work. This statistic illustrates how recognition directly impacts employee engagement and productivity. Simple acts of gratitude can go a long way in boosting morale. Recognition doesn't always have to be formal or elaborate. A simple thank you or a shout-out in a team meeting can make a big difference. It's about showing that you notice and appreciate the hard work and dedication of your team. Chapter 8. Consistency is key. Building trust through reliability. Consistency is crucial for building trust. Leaders who are consistent in their actions and decisions create a sense of stability and predictability. This reliability makes employees feel secure and confident in their leaders. Simon Sinek points out that consistent leaders build trust by setting clear expectations and following through on their commitments. He says, "Trust is built on telling the truth, not just once but over and over again." This repetition of trustworthy behavior solidifies the trust between leaders and their teams. A study by Edelman Trust Barometer found that 67% of employees trust their leaders more when they are consistent. This statistic highlights the importance of reliability in building trust. When leaders are consistent, employees know they can depend on them. Consistency also involves being fair and impartial. Leaders should treat all team members with equal respect and consideration. This fairness fosters a sense of trust and loyalty among employees. It's about creating a level playing field where everyone feels valued. Chapter 9. Listening to lead. The power of active listening. Active listening is a game changer in leadership. When leaders truly listen, they understand their team's needs, concerns, and ideas. This understanding builds a strong foundation of trust. According to a study by Forbes, leaders who practice active listening enhance team performance by up to 40%. Simon Sinek emphasizes that active listening is not just about hearing words. It's about understanding the emotions and intentions behind them. He says, "Listening is not understanding the words of the question asked, it's understanding why the question was asked in the first place." One fascinating fact is that employees who feel heard are 4.6 times more likely to feel empowered to perform their best work. This statistic from a Salesforce study underscores the importance of making team members feel valued and understood. Active listening involves giving your full attention, asking clarifying questions, and reflecting back what you've heard. It shows your team that their input matters. This approach fosters a culture of respect and collaboration. When leaders listen, they make better decisions that reflect the team's collective wisdom. Chapter 10. Servant leadership. Putting your team first. Servant leadership is all about prioritizing the needs of your team. Leaders who adopt this approach create an environment where employees feel supported and valued. According to the Greenleaf Center for Servant Leadership, companies that practice servant leadership experience 60% higher job satisfaction. Simon Sinek points out that servant leaders focus on empowering their team rather than exerting control. He says, "The role of a leader is not to come up with all the great ideas. The role of a leader is to create an environment in which great ideas can happen." One unique fact is that servant leadership can lead to higher levels of innovation. A study by the Journal of Business Ethics found that servant leadership promotes creativity and idea generation within teams. This is because employees feel safe and encouraged to take risks. Servant leaders invest in their team's growth and development. They provide resources, training, and opportunities for advancement. This investment builds trust and loyalty. Employees are more likely to stay with a company that invests in their future. Chapter 11. Conflict resolution. Turning disputes into opportunities. Conflict is inevitable in any team. How leaders handle it can either build or break trust. Effective conflict resolution turns disputes into opportunities for growth and improvement. According to a study by CPP Global, 95% of employees experience conflict at work, but only 29% are satisfied with how it's managed. Simon Sinek highlights that addressing conflicts head-on fosters trust. He says, "The courage of leadership is giving others the chance to succeed even though you bear the responsibility for getting things done." This courage involves confronting issues openly and constructively. One interesting statistic is that teams that effectively manage conflict are 25% more productive. This data from the American Management Association shows how resolving disputes can enhance team performance. It's about turning disagreements into productive discussions. Effective conflict resolution involves active listening, empathy, and finding common ground. Leaders should facilitate open dialogues where everyone feels heard. Chapter 12. Leading by example, inspiring trust through actions. Leading by example is one of the most powerful ways to build trust. When leaders embody the values and behaviors they expect from their team, they inspire others to follow suit. Simon Sinek emphasizes that leadership is not about being in charge. It's about taking care of those in your charge. A study by the Harvard Business Review found that 82% of employees are more likely to trust their leaders when they see them acting with integrity and accountability.